University of Hawaii at Hilo. We're also called PACRC, which is a terrible acronym, but that's what we're stuck with. Thank you. Okay, so this is an aerial view of PACRC. We're actually located in Hawaiian homelands neighborhood called Keaukaha. It's the second oldest Hawaiian homelands in the state, so everybody there is very proud of that. And you can see that we're right next to the port of Hilo, very close to Hilo Bay. So I'm going to talk about some of our activities with a focus on our aquaculture workforce training program, and then hopefully talk a little bit about some of the survey results. We just did a 20-year retrospective survey of our workforce training program, and we learned quite a bit from that. So just a little bit of an overview about mariculture in Hawaii. We like to acknowledge that it's been conducted for over 1,000 years by the native Hawaiians, mostly using the native Hawaiian fish ponds called loko'ia. And we are blessed with many advantages in terms of developing mariculture. But of course, like Alaska, we also face a lot of barriers. A lot of these are related to policy and regulation. We also are blessed with a number of facilities in Hawaii other than PACRC. So I just wanted to mention a few of those. So if people want to come and work or study or train in aquaculture, there's pretty much an opportunity on just about every one of our islands. I also did want to mention that we have extension and training programs that cover the U.S. affiliated Pacific Islands. This is one of the commonalities that we have here in Alaska and Hawaii, is that we have a growing population of Pacific Islanders, many of whom are very interested or practiced in aquaculture. And so we collaborate with MARIP, which is the Marine and Environmental Research Institute of Pohnpei, and they have a very wide range of mariculture activities that may be of interest to some of you. Okay, so why do we do aquaculture in Hawaii? Pretty much the usual reasons. We do it everywhere. This last year, though, there was a lot of intense interest in seaweed. Our former governor declared 2022 is the year of limu. Limu means seaweed in Hawaiian. And also, we just named one of our major campus buildings after Dr. Isabella Abbott, who you see here. She was the first Native Hawaiian woman to earn a doctorate in a science field. And of course, she's very well known in the marine plants world. So again, a lot of traction being gained for mariculture, but particularly for seaweed in Hawaii. Aquaculture is usually ranked among the top 10 agricultural commodities in Hawaii. And interestingly, this report came out a couple of years ago. If you look at these blue bars, what it does show is most agriculture and aquaculture is actually from the big island of Hawaii, primarily because we have the land and water resources. Okay, so how many jobs do we have in aquaculture in Hawaii? Well, it usually hovers between 400 and 500. Obviously, there was a dip with COVID. But last year was actually our top year in terms of revenues. We came in just under $80 million worth of aquaculture products. About half of that actually, though, was microalgae. So this is us sitting there on what used to be, well, what is a renovated wastewater treatment plant. You can see we have some really, really large tanks. Each of those tanks is about 500,000 gallons. And I just want to point out that we have a very wide range of activities there with a lot of different species groups. We have the only dedicated aquaculture workforce training program in Hawaii, although we're hoping to share that with some of the other institutions. It's also the only place that you can get a bachelor's degree in an aquaculture-related topic. Again, we're hoping to spread that more through the UH system. Okay, so just a quick overview of what we do, because this relates to what I'm going to talk about in terms of what our students do in the aquaculture workforce training program. So we have a big focus on developing native species, particularly native species for food fish. We also have about 6 years of experience under our belt working on marine ornamental fish. And this fishery has actually been banned in Hawaii for a couple of years now, so it does provide a good opportunity to develop some of these species for aquaculture. A lot of these are very high-priced fish now in the aquarium market. And of course, this is a very attractive program for our trainees. Live feeds, kind of a basic thing to learn in aquaculture, but we do work with all kinds of live feeds and microalgae, again, partly because one of our top revenue earners in Hawaii is microalgae. So it's pretty easy to find a job in these particular fields.
Our molluscan program, this really consists of two parts. One is that we do have a large shellfish hatchery where students raise larvae and shellfish seed, which we are very fortunate that we have an industry partner that buys that from us. That's partly how we fund our student training program. This is all Pacific oysters. We also work on various research projects, including breeding for climate-resistant oysters. We do some polyploid work and that kind of thing. However, we're also focusing on our native molluscan species. So there's a wide range of those. We're also working on sea cucumbers. Again, this is one of the sort of a charismatic, attractive programs for the students that they really like to work in. Seaweed, again, a big year for seaweed in Hawaii, but we don't have kelp. So it's been super interesting to learn about what you guys are doing with your kelp. We are working with some of our smaller native species, primarily food species that would just be eaten raw, usually combined with fish, as you know, in poke, which is now globally famous. So we have a lot of prospects there with that as well. We've had a small, what we call a farm, although that's kind of a pretentious name. It's actually just a small demonstration site in Hilo Bay. Hilo Bay actually is the recipient water for the largest watershed in the state, but it is fairly contaminated with organic nutrients. But we have been doing seaweed and oysters there for quite a few years. We're working on trying to expand that so it's really more of a true farm kind of structure. Okay, so we've had a workforce training program for about 23 years now, starting around about 1999, 2000. We decided to do a survey because we realized we trained about 500 students of various types. Because we do employ, now this is a paid training program. We do pay more than minimum wage. We're usually able to employ 20 to 30 students a year, and they constitute a very important part of our workforce because if you counted our aquaculture professionals, we only have 12 to 15 so-called professionals every year. So most of our work is actually done by students or the other trainees. Most of these are undergraduate students. We do have graduate students, and we do take high school and community members depending on interest in funding. And this is all grant funded pretty much. Okay, so we decided to try to survey the students and people who had been in our training groups. We estimated we had about 500 over these years. The main challenge was actually tracking these people down. We did not keep very good records initially, and it's surprising how a lot of people don't have any social media presence. So we basically started backwards, starting with our current trainees, our current employees, many of whom came from the workforce training program in the first place, and networked with them to try to figure out where were these people and could we contact them. So we ended up sending out about 180 surveys and got 57 responses. We are trying to probably get a few more responses, but also, as you'll see from the results, some of these results are not necessarily crystal clear in terms of being able to interpret them. So we're following up with some interview questions with the people who responded. Most of them actually did give us their names and contacts. Most of them did not choose to remain anonymous. Okay, one thing we did find out was that 78% of them did receive a bachelor's degree from Hilo. That doesn't mean the rest didn't get bachelor's. They may have gone other places. We have a lot of transfer students. 37% of them eventually got a master's degree, and 13% of those were actually from Hilo, and about 57% of them had worked for us professionally after graduation. So our survey results are a little bit biased because, as I said, we did start with the people that we currently know and tried to work backwards. Okay, so what did they do after they went through the training program? And again, we do aim at getting at least 1 year, if not more years of actual work experience with the people we employ. So you can see that we kind of lump these jobs into education, aquaculture, other STEM fields, graduate school, or the other miscellaneous category, which included starting their own businesses. So there wasn't a whole lot of shift in this over time. So between the first job and then what they were doing at the time of the survey, kind of consistent, but a lot of people did stay in aquaculture, and a majority did stay in STEM fields. So we kind of count that as a win. We don't really expect all these people to stay in aquaculture, but as long as they're gainfully employed, and if they're in a STEM field, we count that as a win. So we asked them, what benefits did you obtain from your time? And we got some surprising results. I've just listed kind of the top echelon of results. So basically, most people said they gained valuable skills. I don't know about the 10% who didn't say they gained valuable skills. Anyway, but there's always some vagaries in these results. They enjoyed, generally, it was very positive. People liked working there. I'm assuming the people who did not like working there didn't answer the survey. A lot of people said this supplemented what they were getting in the classroom. They made long-term friendships, got to interact with people from diverse backgrounds, and gain personal skills, et cetera. So you can read this for yourself. And we had a number of really positive comments, very few negative comments, fortunately. We did find a few unexpected things. I had always been working on the premise that there was a big financial benefit to the students that would help them stay in school, pay their tuition, and then later on pay back their student loans. That wasn't necessarily true. I mean, it did help some people, but it was not as high a response rate as I had predicted. Okay, so time taken to find a job. So again, most of the people found a job pretty quickly, so we were pretty happy about that. So you can see that for yourself. We also had quite a few people eventually going to graduate school. So then we asked our people who had been employed professionally after being workforce trainees what their benefits were, their own self-perceived benefits. So you can see, again, gaining valuable skills. We had a much lower response rate on this, but I think primarily because this question was at the end of the survey and people were getting a little bit tired of answering questions, but it kind of very similar to what people said about their initial experiences. It did encourage people to stay in Hawaii. They were able to get other jobs, learn about other jobs, but again, one of the surprises was that they did say only 21% said it helped them pay back their student loans. Okay, so again, skills. This is just the number of responses because people could respond with more than one skill. But again, aquaculture was one of the top things, thank goodness, since that's what we were training them in. Manual skills. Again, many of these people come to us with never handling a tool in their life or just with very little tool use. So this was good. Water quality. And then people had a lot of surprising responses. For example, professional etiquette. I mean, we try to teach that, but we didn't really emphasize that. And things like, oops, sorry, let me go back. Communications. That was a very popular response, and it was communications of all types, which again was not something we really emphasized as much as apparently we did. But also just learning how to work with other people was, working with other people and things we put into the category called self-improvement. That was apparently very important for folks. Okay, so what could be improved? So this kind of backed up what we've already been thinking about in terms of what we could do to improve the program. Now, unfortunately, the main response was improve the pay, more hours, vacation time, more funding from the university. Unfortunately, we can't really control most of that. What we are working on are these things: more funding and research opportunities for students, more variety. Originally, when we started, we didn't have much going on with fish. Now we have 2 fish hatcheries. Trying to get more mentors and mentees involved in this, okay? Also, they did point out working with the private sector was important. That's something else we've identified as something we're trying to do. And there's a variety of other things that they mentioned. Okay, so we also are trying to develop a list of where our students have gone. So we do have a pretty impressive list, but they do tend to go to some of the more innovative companies. And again, about 30% of our students are from outside of Hawaii, so they go everywhere, not just in the United States, but we also have a lot of people who've been working internationally as well. So I just wanted to thank the organizers for the opportunity to come here and speak today. I love Alaska. I worked here before, so it's always great to be back. And of course, all of our sponsors and participants in our programs and workforce training opportunities. So please come visit us. Please send us your students. Send us your kids, your grandkids. We'd love to have them come and study with us. And we hope that we're going to be able to collaborate a lot more with folks here in Alaska. Again, hopefully it won't not just be Alaska and Hawaii, but also including some of our other Pacific Island neighbors in our synergies and collaborations. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Since we're at the end of the day, if you want to talk to Maria, please reach out. Our next speaker is our very own Missy Good, and she has single-handedly done a ton. Now, there's been a wonderful planning committee that's put together this meeting, but Missy really has been our fearless leader here. So please give her a huge round of applause for all the great work she's done for this conference.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. So for my brief talk, I want to talk about coordinating workforce development and research across Alaska. And really what I'm talking about here is the Alaska Mariculture Research and Training Center. That's our new logo at the bottom of the page. You'll also see the logo popping up on some stickers out front and in some of the three-sided platforms at each of your tables. So go ahead and use the QR code and check out the website. That's amrtc.org. And so those of you who are not familiar with the Alaska Mariculture Research and Training Center, when the Alaska Mariculture Alliance was set up at the sunset of the Alaska Mariculture Task Force, the MRTC was set up as a sister organization to the AMA. And the goal of this organization is to coordinate research and training going on across the state. This is not a brick and mortar center, but the idea is that we can connect industry with researchers, researchers with industry, and we can move forward together in a cohesive way. So we have a brand new website. It is just live. We actually haven't even told the world yet that it exists. So you're some of the very first people to know. So we are still taking feedback on it. But it is up for you to check out. On this website, we are showcasing events that are going on. We have a fairly long list of events. This is all Alaska-centered, but if you do have relevant events going on, please let us know. We'll add it onto the site. It also has upcoming education and training events going on, courses, workshops, semesters. And you could subscribe to our site so you can get a MailChimp. We also have a list of all of the current research projects going on in the state. We have put out a request for pictures from each of the lead entities for these research projects. Please send them. I don't think we've gotten any yet. So at that point, rather than the logo, you'll see a picture on the thumbnail for each of these research projects. And if you go on the website and click on them, you'll then see a brief description of that project, the PI, project partners, amount, and funder. We also have a list of upcoming education and training opportunities coming up. We also have links to some evergreen resources that don't expire. And these include training programs that are being offered through the different universities, the different programs, and then other entities such as Green Wave, that's on there as well. But really any Alaska-centric events that you want to be showcased on here, we're happy to be that one-stop shop. We also have a list of open grant opportunities. This is focused more towards researchers, not necessarily business development, but you can go here and you can see which grant calls are currently open, and then links to those websites, which ones have a reoccurring time frame. You can see that here, and then some additional links to other websites that also have lists of funding opportunities. Oh, this is a little bit out of order. I apologize, but we do have lists of events coming on. You can look at it as a list that scrolls down one by one, or a calendar. There's lots of filter features and different display features. We do have news articles on here. We are just linking news articles at the moment. As we grow and we bring on a director for the MRTC, we would like to be writing our own, but that's kind of where we are at the moment. And if you have a question, we'd really like this to be a platform to have folks enter in questions they have or needs that they might have, and we could use this to help connect people to solve problems, really. And then there's the bottom. You can see the Alaska Mariculture Alliance logo at the bottom. That's a link, a live link, so you can connect to their website once that is up and running. And not only are we coordinating efforts that are going on, but on the side, Alaska Sea Grant and other university programs are all working together so that way we can develop training programs to help grow our industry. UAS, UAA, that's Alaska, University of Alaska Anchorage, University of Alaska Southeast, and the University of Alaska Fairbanks. We're all coordinating, working together to develop different trainings that meet different needs for the industry. And so, for example, some that are coming up, Alaska Sea Grant will be hosting a foundation to kelp farming workshop next month in Kodiak. That's an intensive 4-day hands-on training. In April, we will be holding a seaweed handling and processing workshop. This workshop is really based upon the guidance that we developed, and there's copies out in our bonus room near the check-in desk if you want to check out those guidance. We are doing an application process for both of these. The foundations, the kelp farming has passed, but the seaweed handling and processing one, we would ask applications come in by February 24th. So you have a little bit of time. Please pass the word, and you can apply through the alaskaseagrant.org website. But University of Alaska Southeast is also doing other programs. So they have their aquaculture semester coming up this coming fall. This is a whole month where students learn about aquaculture in Alaska. That includes salmon hatcheries, kelp farming, the shellfish industry. And so they have some of their own programs going on. These are college credited programs. And something that's a little bit unique is University of Alaska Anchorage in Prince William Sound at the Valdez campus. They have a mariculture course for teachers. So this is a summer intensive where K through 12 teachers go, they spend a week, and they learn about mariculture, they learn about the coastal environment, and they take curriculum and resources back that they could teach in their classroom, so teaching the younger generation. And with that, I'm going to say we're done, and I'll go ahead and pass it on to the next one.
Okay, our next speaker, that was really great, and yeah, very cool stuff that we have going on. Our next speaker is Seawan Gelhbach, who will be talking about everybody wants to work on an oyster farm, and I know I do, and I'm really looking forward to getting out to Seawan's farm in the next couple of years.
Excellent. Thanks, Jenny. Okay. Oh, am I? Yeah. All right. We'll see how this goes. I tend to talk with my hands, so this is going to be difficult. And I can just set that down? You have to face this way. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll try this. Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay. So, hello. My name's Seawan, and I own Simpson Bay Oyster Company outside of Cordova, Alaska. So it's been interesting. You know, labor, of course, is a trending topic in the United States, and we have labor issues. So it's been interesting for me to analyze what's going on with the labor at my farm. So the topic, the title, Everyone Wants to Work on an Oyster Farm, well, that began as a tongue-in-cheek title for my presentation. Yeah, sure, everyone. I was told as a new farmer that getting labor at my farm would be difficult, and I have not had that experience. So I guess, what is different and what has changed? These slides are going to be very general and just and represent some of the diversity of labor on my farm. I'm proud of the diversity of labor on my farm. I would especially ask you to note the age range of the people I have working out at my oyster farm. So different farms obviously have very different labor needs, and I have a very small farm, so and that's part of why this works for me. But I have been contacted by students, off-season fishermen, retired fishermen, and people generally that just have interest in mariculture, and then also just friends who want to work outdoors. So literally what I have found is that yes, everyone does want to work on an oyster farm. Oh, so I just go like this, I go like this. What am I missing? Ta-da! Okay, excellent. So the trend for me on my farm is that the available and very enthusiastic work pool is women. And often those women are older than me. So Nancy's approved this. Nancy is the woman standing at the table. She has, gray hair, and she's in her 70s. She's capable, skilled, and very physically active. So it's great that I'm finding this enthusiastic work pool. And that's not unlike national trends, which is kind of interesting, and maybe I'm just drawn to those articles. But anyway, So oyster farming traditionally involves heavy lifting and cold, inclement conditions. So how do I best utilize this available labor pool for my farm? So from the start, my husband was instrumental in setting up our farm so that my teenage son and I could work the gear together, just us. He was on the previous slide. So over the past year, we've worked to further adapt our farm to this available labor pool, which means, as Weatherly had pointed out earlier, ergonomics on your farm are really important. So, work table height, eliminating tripping hazards, less lifting. Wrong. Ooh. Oh. Okay. So here you have me utilizing an electric winch. We have hydraulics, trying not to lift things, and just being efficient about how we're moving our gear around. And then also working short gigs. And again, this is about having a small farm, but I'm doing day trips or I'm doing 3-day trips. So this works with people's schedules, if they have families or if they don't want to be out there for a really long time. Anyway, so this is what I've been experiencing with labor, and I began to wonder about other farms. This is also, using the city crane, using forklifts, again, avoiding lifting. And then this is some of the wet, inclement, awful conditions we considered. So I will now erase, I see the time. Okay, so I reached out to other Alaska growers. Our community of growers is very helpful and amazingly available. So anyway, I queried 8 other farms and asked them about their labor uses and needs, and I just asked a few questions. Here's some of that information. So it's a quick summary. Okay. So of the farms I spoke with, about half of them use labor, and the other, about half of them use labor besides themselves or immediate family. So depending on the size of their farm, they had from 4 to 8 employees. And of those farms that do have employees, they sourced their labor through online advertising, local community colleges, or through their neighbors. And neighbors were something that all farmers mentioned. Like, neighbors are really key. We are community builders. This is part of our outreach program. We use our neighbors. So also this hiring was typically seasonal, so April to November, and often returning crew. People, when they love this work, they want to come back. And they'll know right off if they don't love it. So that's good too. So growers are typically looking for people who are hardworking, willing to get dirty, willing to get wet, and they are enthusiastic and timely, and not necessarily skilled in marine skills. Like, we just want people that are trainable, that want to be there, and that feeds into the next, that people who choose this work because they want the experience and they want this lifestyle and they want to have a commute on the water. Anyway, those are just some of the things that oyster farmers are looking for, and I hope that helps. There are definitely barriers to having employees, such as housing in coastal communities. That's a problem. And then, of course, the insurance costs. And that's why some of us, or some farms, don't have labor of the traditional type. But anyway, thank you. That's a snapshot of oyster farm labor.
Thank you for this long and fantastic day. It was really great hearing perspectives from people from outside of the state, but then also hearing about successes and innovations from within. And I really hope and think that these conversations are going to help us grow into the future. We are going to end our day now. There is a ton of food left over, so please feel free to take some as you go out the door. Our keynote is going to start at 8:30 tomorrow, but we will have the check-in desk open starting at 7:30, and we'll have a light breakfast available as well starting at 7:30. So please show up early so we can start our keynote right at 8:30. Enjoy this evening and some of the wonderful food and beverages that Juneau has to offer.